Hello guys, welcome to the day 2 of the quarterfinals of Meltwater Champions Chess Tour FTX Cryptop Cup. And today we had loads of draws, but there was also people getting knocked out and people progressing to the semifinals of this tournament. So let us begin with one of our favorites, which is of course Anish Giri versus Timur Radjabov. And here, if you see, Radjabov had won the previous match, and the first three games were come drawn. So Anish had to win this game to actually force the tie break. So Anish was white. Let's see what happened. E4, E5, knight F3, knight C6, bishop B5, knight F6. Again, typical Berlin, very solid. And that's what you want, and you only need to draw. D3, bishop C5, uh, bishop C6, D6. Yeah, people have been playing this bishop C6 recently quite often. The idea is actually to play against this pawn and basically play against this structure. These four pawns are sort of not doing a lot against these three. So white just goes for castles, bishop d6 and bishop g5. Again, not a very usual move. First of all, I have to say that bishop d6 भी ना इतना common नहीं है. Here there is knight d7, there is queen e7, there is bishop g4. All of them has been played hundred of times. Bishop d6 also is quite popular, but itna not been played so many times. You know, so bishop d6, bishop g5, abhi h6. The point is that bishop ko you have to decide where to go, but of course here you have to go bishop h4, and here Temur went for bishop e6. I don't know whether it was his preparation or not, but for some reason I don't like so much. For example, like what happened in the game, I don't really like black's position. Instead, I think bishop g4 has been played a couple of times. Although to be honest, I don't like this position as well so much for black. For example, I can just play h3, and yeah, if you just take, then okay, I have this better structure. I understand black's position is very solid and it's difficult to make progress, but white is slightly better anyway. Uh, so here he goes bishop e6, and now the point of white's plan is to just go d4. Idea is first of all, e maar nahi sakte because there is e5. Uh, Not this, but just simply forking bishop and knight. So black has to do something, and this is almost forced. And now Anish went for the pawn. I would have probably done the same thing, like he took bishop f6, gf6, and he took here. But there was another interesting possibility here, which was just to play calmly knight c3 and keep the pieces, keep the tension. And usually, what I feel like in this must-win games, you should not try to clarify the position. Although he was better, but this endgame is still a little bit dicey to handle against two bishops. For example, after knight c3, ed4, knight d4, again you have to decide what to do with the bishop. Bishop c4, all these kind of moves are not really nice because you give this square for the knight. So queen design is more or less forced, and now we simply take here. You have to take, and we essentially get the position we want, where we have these four pawns against uh, these three pawns, and we have clear edge over this side of the board, the king side of the board, and you can see on the queen side these four pawns cannot really find a make a majority against these three pawns. So this is the basic concept about this kind of structure, is that white wants to get exchange this center pawn so that he has a clear majority on the king side. So here we are getting it, and I was not surprised that Anish didn't go there because surprise. I mean, he's just getting a pawn, तो free का pawn कौन छोड़ता है? So bishop f6, gf6, d5, queen d1, and f5, bishop 95. So we get a pawn, but in return, black has two uh, very active bishops, and that's the reason I was like kind of suspecting कि ना ये pawn नहीं मारते. Let's play normal game only. So bishop f6, knight d3, long castle. So far so good. We are up a pawn. I mean, Anish is up a pawn, not we. Uh, so black is actually threatening rook d3. For example, if I go something like this, he takes here and he takes here. Black is just better. Also, it is very common that we have to develop this knight somehow. You know this. But where Anish chose the c3 square, ideally, I think d2 square is more safe. Like I would prefer this because it sort of keeps the position together and also takes away this square for the bishop, which was later a big problem for white. So knight c3, yeah, he immediately went for bishop c4. Uh, saying, okay, first of all, b3 is out of the question, and ideally, I think black would just want to double here and try to move more and more pressure over, this file. Anish went for g3, which is kind of strange because this is like, half a move. It's like, okay, कुछ करने को नहीं, let me play just g3. ऐसा नहीं होता. I think in the correct move would have been just f3, which he played on the next move, and try to bring your king in. Try to exchange some pieces down the line. And with g3, abhi rook e8, and now of course he went for f3. This is fine. a5, king g2, b6, and again Anish started to drift here a bit. I mean a3 is fine. Because what was the problem for Anish was he could not really move the knight. For example, if I go here, black simply takes here, you have to take, and then he takes and takes this pawn. So this a2 pawn is a little bit vulnerable. So a3 is fine for now. Bishop d4, and now, yeah, Anish went for a plan which is very strange and very dubious. I didn't really understand what to make of it. I think the easier way was, just push your pawn, and let's say if black goes here, first of all, h5 करेगा तो उसी को problem, because knight f4 का it is not easy to protect this pawn. Like you have to put your rook here, which is not really what you want in this kind of position. So h4, let's say rook d7, which happened in the game also. So let's say what happens to rook d7, just h5, rook d8, and now simply knight f2, and we are not worried about anything here. Knight g4 will play next, and again this pawn is a little bit vulnerable. So for example, black plays, I don't know, b5, we'll go just knight g4, bishop has to go back, takes, now simply rook d1, and now we managed to exchange both the rooks, plus we have a good weakness to attack, and we have maintained our extra pawn. So this would have been some sort of a plan, because the plan Anish chose was like simply not that great. So he played knight f4. I mean, knight f4 in the sense is okay, but the continuation was faulty. So rook d7, and now he went for knight d5, which is kind of strange. And c5. And now what's the problem for white is that black is threatening f5 and to break open everything. And the problem for white is g4 is not really possible. Probably Anish would have thought that g4 आ रहा है और f5 को stop ऐसे कर सकते हैं. But the problem here is now black simply takes, you have to take the knight, takes, rook e2, and there are no good square for this king. I mean, let's say we go here, black simply takes here, rook b1, black takes here, or फिर ना ये pawns are advancing very fast, and I would be surprised that it is black who is actually better here. So could not really play g4, but if you cannot play g4, then if you allow f5, उसके बाद तो there is no chance to come back into this game. b3, Radjabov went for a very nice maneuver. To be honest, this was also fine. Like takes here, and black is not worse at all. But Nakamura went for bishop a6, which is actually quite intuitive. ef5, and he rerouted his bishop to d7, and there is no escaping this knight. So after rook d3, bishop d5, knight d5, rook d5 is actually just better for black. I mean, if Timur needed to win this game, probably he would have won. But he knew that draw is good enough to to go to the semis. So he went for the c3, rook e2, king h3, rook f5, cd4, cd4, rook d4, rook f3, rook h4. Probably rook h. This was a bit better, to play something like this. But okay, the game is still, in the words of. I mean, if somebody is better, it should be black. But yeah, why to take chances like that? Like Timur just played rook f6, defending this pawn, and saying, yeah, show me how you will win this. b4, ab4, ab4, king b7, b5, exchange all other pawns, rook d4, rook d6, rook f1, d2, I mean, with such a miserable rook anyway, you cannot win. But yeah, rook b2. Uh, Trying to change the rook. And now, yeah, they were just going to the motion. I think both the players knew that the game is over. But, you just cannot, uh, like for Anish, in Anish scenario, you just cannot, make a draw and just go back. You have to try till the end. That's what he did, but nothing really happened. After rook b6, rook a8, rook c6, takes rook a1. And yeah, finally the game ended in a draw. Fair result. Anish was better first, and then Temur was better. So in the end, draw is a fair result. And shout out to Temur actually, he played really nice in this whole tournament. He never really struggled in any games, and he's being very solid. And it would be very nice to see, his games in the semi-final. So next game is between Jan Nepomniachtchi and Fabiano Caruana. This was actually in the Blitz game. They had, I mean, this was the Blitz game just because it was a tight set. So let's see what happened. C4, E5, G3, Knight F6. This is Anish plays this. Sorry, my bad. Jan plays this quite often. This C4 line. G3, Knight F6. I mean, his main repertoire is E4, but time to time he also plays C4. Bishop G2, C6, Knight F3, E4, Knight D4, D5, CD5, Queen D5, Knight C2. And here Fabiano went for Bishop C5, which is sort of strange because not the most popular move. And on the contrary, it has been only played by 4 or 5 times. I think Queen H5 is one of the main lines here, where there are like almost 200 games. But yeah, Bishop C5 is kind of strange because it also gives wider tempo of Knight C3 attacking the Queen. Queen E5, simply short castles. Now, Jan went for a very nice sacrifice. I mean, you would want to play this sacrifice, but there is a refutation. I think for white, the correct plan should have been b4. You should move somewhere. I don't know, maybe here. Then just bishop b2. Try to open up this diagonal and play like this. So knight e4 looks good. The idea is, if you take here, I'm going to play d4. Like this is what happened in the game, and capture the bishop. And if you give white this bishop, then this bishop after b3, bishop b2 is going to be really, really very powerful. But the refutation of this sacrifice is, which of course Fabiano didn't find. He went for he went for queen e7. The refutation was just knight f2. You must take, and then simply rook d8. The point is, of course, this is fold, but this is also pinned. So you cannot take either of them. Let's say white plays some normal, bishop f4. We just go back. E4, central control करेंगे. Now we also go back here, and now you'll see all these pawns can be a little bit vulnerable, and the game is dynamically balanced, and it's not easy for both the sides actually, especially for white to create an initiative because the d4 pawn is very vulnerable, and because of the d4 pawn, the knight c2 also gets a little bit passive. So knight f2 would have been really cool. But okay, these kind of things you only see, after the game or, with the engines or with the computer. It's not at all easy to see in a normal game, let alone in a blitz game. So d4 to queen e7, which is normal. dc5, knight c5, knight e3, bishop e6, b3. Again, as I said कि एक बार bishop इस diagonal पे आ गया एकदम तबाही हो जाएगी. So b3, a5, queen c2, knight a6, bishop b2, f6. This is usually a nice way to tackle, these two pawns. Sort of limits this bishop. So if you're defending, this is reasonably good defensive setup. It's even better if you have pawn here, that would kill this bishop immensely. Queen c3, knight b4, rook c1, b6. Roundabout here, I think Jan sort of relaxed a bit because his play was not up to the point. I mean, he's much better, of course, but could have ended the game pretty soon. Like for example, bishop e3 is just winning a pawn. Uh, First of all, there is no way you can defend this, and yeah, I don't see like if you go here, I can simply take this pawn, and yeah, I mean white is simply better. The point is also if you go here, I can take this. And let's say if you try to pin me, I can just move the queen somewhere. I don't know, anywhere, maybe even here. Because you cannot really take this. Like for example, if you take knight takes, I can just simply take the queen. So bishop a3 would have, landed a pawn for white. Knight c4 is also quite good. I mean decent, but bishop a3 was more to the point. Knight d7, queen e3 again, attacking this pawn. Rook b8 is forced sort of. A3. Also, there is one more point which I forgot to mention. Uh, After knight c4, okay, knight c4 also has an idea that at some point white wants to take this pawn. क्योंकि अगर इस pawn से मारेगा तो then we can take here. अगर रुक से मारेगा तो then b4 knight is hanging. So knight d7 was that's why it was forced. Queen e3, d8, b8, a3, knight d5, queen d2, knight c5, queen c2, bishop f7. I mean all these moves we were just preparing, to expand as white. Uh, Knight c5 was played, so of course this pawn is attacked, so we have to defend it. Queen c2, bishop f7, e4, knight c7. And now again, it was very strange for me. First of all, knight e5 is a really nice move. I think problem what Jan would have felt that here uh, that this is a bit of a problem. But after rook c5, rook b3, bishop c3, and now this is simply white is up a pawn. Like knight b5 खेल सकता है, and this position I feel technically white should be just winning. Let's say bishop b4 here. Because of two bishops and an extra pawn, white should be just winning. But of course, Jan thought that maybe black has some chances to draw this, which is true. And his position is so overwhelming that maybe he should just continue. But the way he continued was not right. He went for bishop d4. Instead, there was a very nice idea actually, which is not at all easy to see in a classical game also, which is just go b4, takes, knight a6. Now you must be wondering what is this idea because knight b4 is hanging, yeah, and it's not easy to protect this. But the idea is simply here, knight b4 you have to take because I am also threatening this. So let's see what happens after knight b4. Simply go knight f5, attacking the queen. Queen has to move. Let's say queen e6, looks normal. And now simply queen e2. What is our idea, guys? Our idea is simply to go queen g4, rook a7, and once we move the queen, there is also bishop f1, bishop c4, and believe me, white is a winning attack here. So this would have been quite an counterintuitive pawn sacrifice. And knowing Jan, knowing by seeing his games and stuff, it is totally his style to play like this. I was sort of surprised that he went for a calm move, bishop d4. It's also fine, but he missed a clever tactics here, which is knight b3, which is also played by Fabiano. But he missed the continuation. Here, actually, after knight b3, queen b3, he should first play c5, and bishop has to move, and then b5, and then collect this knight. And still, white is slightly better, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, the game still continues. But what Fabi missed was probably after b5, queen e3 is very strong, and now bishop c5 is coming and taking the rook. So black must anyway capture back his piece, bishop c5, and now, yeah, white is simply an exchange up, and Jan managed to, finish the game without much difficulty. So e5 is a nice touch. You open up this bishop and sort of, this bishop was sort of holding on to black's queen side, this pawn, and probably after a4, guarding everything. It's good to exchange this piece. ef4 takes, queen d7, again very active, rook c1, queen d3 not giving any, chances for black. Queen d5 is forced, was a check, and the knight was hanging. It's forced, queen b6, knight e8, gf4, knight f6, queen c5. Yeah, somewhere around here again, Jan sort of began to lose control, but still his position was so overwhelming that it didn't feel like he lost control anywhere. So here we got rook and knight, rook versus knight, sorry. And yeah, it was not very difficult to actually convert this. It was quite a simple technique. Check, king e5. Uh, the point here is if you go here, then simply knight f5, or probably even knight g8. I think knight g8 because it also holds all the squares and black probably play king g7. Probably here rook a7 is quite decent, and in a while you will run out of the move. Black. Probably knight f5 is the move. Let's see what Nepo did. He gave a check first, rook a7, and now simply king e6 because okay, wherever you move, I capture a pawn. Now the whole idea is how do I give up my rook for this knight and get a winning king pawn endgame. So a nice win by Nepo, and which also because of which he also managed to get through the semis, and yeah, it would be very interesting to follow him as well. Now I had saved the best for the last. So again, a very seesaw match between Magnus Carlsen versus Hikaru Nakamura. Started with, let's see the first game first of all. Uh, Magnus was white, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5. Another Italian, castles, knight f6, d3, castles. If you remember yesterday, Magnus has played h3, and after d5 we had this very interesting position which Magnus managed to win the to draw the match. So here he went for rook e1, which is a nice, deviation. And rook e1, knight g4 is sort of asking for white that, rook e1 is not such a great move. Okay, f2 pawn is attacked. And if you go back, then black can also simply go back. This is one idea. I mean, you don't have to go back. But of course, after rook e1, white goes rook e2, defending from here. King h8, h3, f5, bishop g5. Because if you take here, black simply wants to take, and there is no good square for the knight. Then g3 is coming, knight b4 is coming. The game is just getting out of control for white. So bishop g5 is it's all been played twice, so no need to get worried. Knight f6, and now knight c3 was played, which is actually the best move. As sort of analyzing what happens after e5, because again pawn is a pawn, guys. Yeah, but here d5, and I thought bishop b5. Okay, now we are attacking this, which leaves this pawn a little bit vulnerable. So bishop b5 for knight d4 is there. I mean, you have to play knight d4, and now comes the main point. You take with the pawn. You will see what is this, and now the problem is how to defend this pawn. Let's say we play g4. Now you will see the real point of the whole system. Now black goes c6, bishop a4, a5 with the idea of threatening to trap this bishop. A3, simply queen d6, and now it is not easy for white to play this position. I just want to play bishop d7, maybe g6, try to open up the king side. Let's say white goes here with the idea either to play queen f4 or to bishop f4 to come back. Black can simply just take here and say, okay, what do you do? Okay, we take this, and now simply go queen d7 and say that, okay, all these three pieces are not coming into the game. I don't really mind giving up a piece to open up the king side. And actually black is doing quite well here. So yeah, this is where I ended my analysis, which was quite funny because black just gave up a piece just for a pawn. And yeah, playing for a small initiative, like playing for a slow attack. But Magnus, of course, probably you would have seen it long time back. He goes for knight c3, d6, knight d5, f4, d4, bishop e6. Again, we have been taught that whenever your opponent starts flank attack, flank as in the from the side, it's very good idea. It's really nice to counter it with the activity in the center, and that's what Magnus does with knight c3 and now later knight d5. Fe, de, bishop e6, knight f6, fe6, bishop e6, fg5. So c3, let's take a pause here. Let's take a breather. So white is not doing that badly. I mean, to be honest, it's white who is slightly better because it's not easy to get this initiative going. Bishop on g4 is very strong, h5 is, if h5 happens, okay, it happens. But also then we have bishop f5 controlling, this file. I mean, restricting black from activating on this file. So overall, I think white is slightly better here. Let's see how the game, continue. Black went 97, queen d2 attacking this pawn, rook g8, b4 again attacking the bishop, which has to go back. I think here, from here, Carlsen started to lose thread of the game. I mean, at least for some moves, even for a4. But I believe the idea should be how can you limit this bishop? Okay, once you know that, okay, you have to limit this. It's very easy to find a move. The move is simply rook c1. And now he simply wants to play c4, c5. And okay, once the bishop is limited, our options will increase. And now if black plays a5, that's why I would say why what Carlsen did was slight inaccuracy, because now we simply have a3. Abhi ab ko we can just take ab and then c4, c5. And let's say bishop has to come into this diagonal, but it doesn't do that big of a, it's not doing that much what it's doing on this diagonal than it would do on this diagonal. So I think white is much better here, or at least white is better. Let's put it that way. But after a4, black simply goes a5, and all this idea doesn't work anymore because these pawns are getting exchanged. Queen a2. Yeah, queen a2 is again a very strange move. After queen g6, again we are threatening this, and it's not easy to parry it. For example, in the game, queen e6 happened, and once again, I don't know, something was going on. Both players kept on missing some sort of tactics or another. Like here, he could just play h5, and black is completely fine, maybe a little bit better. So the point is, first of all, if you exchange the queens, and you might say, okay, I'm getting a pawn, but no, we have knight f4 again, forking this and forking this, and black is winning here. And secondly, you can also take this, but here we would just take this, the bishop, you take here, and not just go rook g7, and there are no good square for the queen. I mean, it's just trapped. So it was a bit surprising that both players missed h5. Hikaru went for queen g7, ba5, bishop a5, rook d1, uh, rook a7. And again, white is slightly better because, I mean, his pieces are looking much better than black's. Queen c4, but again, it's very difficult to, hit a target here. Queen g6, rook b5, c6. Now again, a very strange move by Carlsen was to simply give up a piece like this. To be honest, I don't know what happened. Like, why did he do it? Because position is still quite decent. Like, he could try to play something like either rook b2 with the idea rook d2 and try to put pressure here, or even go something like rook b1, put this rook here and try to put pressure here. And in both the scenarios, I still believe that white is slightly better. So to go for all this, it's kind of strange. Karu took this, of course. And now, for a level of, he completely missed this rook a5, which is kind of strange because Carlsen sees the small tactics like this in a blink of an eye. So after rook a5, just queen b4, we are attacking these two things, and white is still doing quite okay. I don't think he's better, but he's not worse also. So rook e5, rook d8. Only rook d8 was missed by Carlsen. Because this knight doesn't have too many good squares, and Carlsen would have thought, okay, this is a also coming queen d4 because not only it sees the king, but also this rook is attacked. So rook d8 was a like a cold shower probably, because the point is now if you take the knight, there is this check, king h2, queen d6, check again, and we just pick up the rook. So probably rook d8 was missed, and that's the reason probably Carlsen took this 95 and rook e5. So here he goes rook e6, but yeah, already black should be completely winning. And let's just see how Hikaru managed to win it. So rook f8, rook e7, rook f7, queen b7, simply rook f8 takes, bishop is attacked, bishop e4, h5. Again, probably wants to play h4 and open up the king even more. Bishop c6, queen c4, and attacking both the pieces. Bishop b5, queen c3, queen e4, queen c5. And again, we form this construction to play h4 later on. Bishop e2, h4, of course. Gh4, knight g6. Now all sort of threats, Queen is coming to h2, knight h4, knight f4. So all looks like game is going to get over pretty soon. Bishop b6, f3, knight e5 again. Probably knight h4, white has some sort of rook c6. So that's why knight e5 was played, controlling this square with the knight as well. Rook b2, queen c5, rook c2, and now simply knight f3. Now the game is on rook c5, knight d2, and now simply two pieces up. Carlsen still continued for a while, but result was never in doubt. Rook h6, king g7, and finally Carlsen won the rook as well, and now he resigned. So this was the first game of their match today. And now let us see second game. Like once again, yesterday we saw there were 4 games which were won by with white in their match, and today in the second game again black managed to win, which was Carlsen this time. So let us see this game. e4, c5, knight f3, d6, bishop b5, knight d7, bishop a4, knight f6, castles a6. Again, a very common line. When you don't want to play a direct chess, you want to play something like bishop b5, which gives you some chances, but it also is very solid. So c4. The idea is eventually you want to play d4 and sort of get more bind in the center with these 2 pawns. e6 was played. Again, knight e4 can be played, but it's very risky. You may either play rook e1 or d4 directly, and yeah, it is. I would not suggest you guys to go here. e6 is normal. Knight c3, now protecting the pawn. Bishop e7, d4, cd, and d4. Again, a very typical Marozzi, but the only difference is usually this bishop is here. Now it is a little bit out, but we still don't know whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. Queen e2, queen c7, bishop b3, b6, bishop e3, bishop b7, f3, rook c8. Till now, both the players have been playing quite well. They're just following the trend. Now, sometimes queen wants to go to b8 to get to d5. And basically, what black wants here is either to break with b5 or to break with d5. And if he cannot do it for a long time, then he'll of course end up being worse. But the problem for white also is that black's position is so solid, is that it's not at all easy to break through. That's why it's called hedgehog, where it's if you try to come near to the hedgehog, you can come near to the hedgehog, but you cannot break. So queen b8, bishop a4, it's nice. Rook c7, the idea of rook c8 next. b4, rook c8, bishop b3. And now Carlsen actually is not very common of him of doing this, but he just went for it, b5. Usually he never does it, he never forces things. He waits, and he waits his opponent out. But probably because he had lost the first game with white pieces, maybe he thought he's out to do something with black. But this is not at all good, because here white is a very nice piece sacrifice. Takes. And now what do we have? We have 2 pawns plus the rook is hanging. So overall, we get rook and 2 pawns for 2 minor pieces, which is any day a good trade. h5 was played. Again, I didn't really understand, what Carlsen was doing, because usually you would want to play d5 in such kind of position. For example, after d5, let's say white takes, simply take here. Knight c7, queen c7, let's say de, fe, bishop f2, and now simply knight c5. Black still has some sort of hold here, some sort of squares for his pieces. But still, I would feel that white is slightly better, but this is any day preferable than what Carlsen did here. He went for h5, which is quite slow, a4, h4. And now, it is very easy to understand what Magnus wants is black. He wants to play h3, open up the king, or फिर attack करेंगे धीरे धीरे because you have an extra piece. So, if I see it, of course, Hikaru also sees it. So, my point is, why not, पहले आप रुक मार लो, he has to take. और फिर इसको स्टॉप कर दो. I understand this square is weak, this dark square is weak, but our pawns are also running. So I think this was a big mistake from Hikaru's side to allow this h3, because once after h3, black was always getting some counter play on another. Uh, h3 now, and again rook a1 is sort of very strange. Personally, I would still just take the rook and then next move take here. I understand black has some resources now, but still. H2, and finally he took here. Yeah, roundabout here, white just lost threat of the game completely. Because now you see d5 is a very big threat. Also, now black can start playing slowly, like knight e5, knight g6, knight h5, with the idea with knight 2 coming to f4, bishop is coming out. So it's white who has to do something about it, because the king is also quite weak here. Hikaru started playing very slowly because these pawns are not going to queen so fast. And after d5, position is completely opening up and the king is feeling really vulnerable. Or question that this bishop d6, bishop h2 itself is quite annoying. So d5, b6, queen e5, f4, queen c3. Yeah, black is completely winning now. This bishop is finally playing in the game. And you see these two pawns are not really able to advance. Queen e1 was played. I mean, what else? What else to do here? Queen d3 simply. Bishop a4. Simply knight c5. Everything, all the pieces are coming in. A6. And now we don't mind giving up the change, because the rest of the game is quite simple. Bishop c5 was played. Rook b3, queen c4. The rest of the game Magnus played quite well. And here I didn't really understand, like after rook b4 he could simply play something like queen d3 and try to win this middle game. Should be easily winning because the king is really weak. Plus all our pieces are quite active and quite, they're really well coordinated. But Magnus went for queen f1, which is also fine, which gives him clear advantage in the end game. And rook d4 sort of helps, black. Instead, probably something like this would have given some, problems for black. But still, yeah, I believe uh, black is still much, much better. Rook d4 was played d4, f5. Okay, this is just desperation. Abhi last को अब क्या कर सकते हैं? f5, bishop d7, trying to get back this pawn. Knight d7. Probably the idea was अगर ये करोगे तो probably I'll just take here. But even this doesn't work. I don't know why Rook d8 was not played in the game. It's strange. Uh, Maybe yes. I mean, his idea was obviously this, but you're not able to take this pawn anywhere. Like I can play something like g6 or rook d5, and okay, something like this. So bishop d7 Carlsen went for knight d7, which is also nice. Rook c2, rook 8, king h7. And the point is, he cannot really take here. I mean, he can take, but it doesn't really do anything. We can simply play e3 and e2. For example, if you go here, we give a check, and now e2, and we are queening on the next move, and just game over. So, rook e8 was played. Again, nothing to say actually. White's position is completely lost. Rook f7, g6, take another pawn. I mean, this construction is always, knight on the third rank defended by a pawn is always a nice construction. Always remember this. Rook g7, knight f4, and he resigned finally actually. Knight f4. Played rook e7, probably lost on time or something, but the position was anyway quite awful. King will come in and e3 is coming. It's going to be over pretty soon. So Hikaru resigned and thus making it 1-1 in the match. And later it became 2-2. They managed to draw the next two games, and eventually Magnus managed to defeat Hikaru in the Blitz game. So that was the quarterfinals, guys, and we have a very interesting lineup for semifinals. Jan Nepomniachtchi, who has been very aggressive, is playing against Wesley So, who is being very, very solid. So it would be very interesting to see their match. And plus, Magnus against Temur, they've been playing against each other for almost 15 years. So So let's see what's going to happen in their game. So that's it from my side today, guys. I hope you liked it. See you guys tomorrow.